All right, welcome to The Beam, where curiosity stirs conversation, taking us a step further into the future we desire. I'm Sunas Nathaniel, and as always, we bring you the issues that matter, the voices that challenge, and the insights that inspire. Today, we return to the very soil that has both enriched and haunted this country, the Niger Delta. It is the heart of Nigeria's oil wealth, but also a landscape that is marred by environmental degradation, political neglect, and sustainability crisis that refuses to go away. The recent River State political saga and the shake-up at the NNPC have reignited a national conversation about the controls of wealth. Who bears the cost? Who bears the brunt of what is going on in the Niger Delta? And what are the futures that, we hold for the people in the region? And how does it spread even to the youths across Nigeria? Can we define and redefine power, politically, economically, and sustainably for the next generation? But before we dig deep into that, let's take you to a quick tech update. And when we return, we'll get you with our guest and get that conversation underway. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome. Here is your quick tech update for the week. Dr. Vincent Olatunji, the National Commissioner and CEO of the Nigeria Data Protection Commission, has been appointed chair of the Anglophone Countries Committee of the Network of Africa Data Protection Authorities. The appointment is a result of the Commission's contributions led by Dr. Olatunji, reflecting the Commission's achievements following the enactment of the Nigeria Data Protection Act 2023. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has approved a 20 billion naira take-up fund for the National Space Research and Development Agency, NASDRA, to begin the implementation of its long-awaited space regulation and licensing functions. The Director General of NASDRA disclosed this. In another development, the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, has entered into a strategic partnership with Afrovision Technologies Limited, a Dubai-based AI-driven recruitment platform to enhance job placements for Nigerian tech talent. This collaboration addresses the persistent challenge of low employment rates among skilled professionals despite Nigeria's growing digital ecosystem. In the meantime, OpenAI has expanded access to its advanced image generation tool, previously limited to paying subscribers, making it available to all users. The company's CEO, Sam Altman, announced in a post on X, hinting that while the exact number of free-tier image generation remains unclear, there's a possible cap of 3 images per day for non-paying users. And finally, Neuralink, the brain-computer interface company founded by tech billionaire Elon Musk, is calling for volunteers worldwide to join its groundbreaking research. The study focuses on a brain implant designed to enable individuals to control computers using their thoughts. Neuralink announced that it is particularly seeking patients with quadriplegia, a condition that results in paralysis of all 4 limbs, to register for its patient database. And that's your quick tech update for this week. Just stay tuned for more cutting-edge news for the ever-evolving world of technology. Do enjoy the rest of your week. I am Kumbi Aboluade.
Welcome back. For those just tuning in, this is The Beam, and joining us now from our Lagos studio is someone who understands the science, the economics, and the politics of Nigeria's energy ecosystem. Lucky Igoyota is a geologist, a petroleum and energy consultant, and he is currently pursuing a PhD in energy economics and management at the Federal University of Petroleum Resources in Efuru. Also joining us via Zoom is Elvis Akpobi, Executive Director of the Not Too Young to Rule initiative. He will be bringing the youth perspective on nurturing the next generation of leaders towards accountability and responsibility. Gentlemen, you're welcome to The Beam.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, good afternoon, Sunes. Thank you for having me.
All right. Let's begin with you, Mr. Lucky. Let's begin at the core. What does this current NNPC shake-up tell us about Nigeria's energy governance? And from your lens, as a professional, how do we interpret this in the context of River State's political storm, and the broader Niger Delta narrative?
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. Your question is a recurring question in the last 6 days when the new men in charge of our energy sector came on board. It's a new dawn, like everybody will say. The hopes are high, expectations are very high. We believe that the emergence of these top echelons in the oil and gas sector, proven technocrats, if you like, also men that have paid their dues in the oil and gas sector in the last 30 years plus, to man the NNPC, our national oil company, is a step in the right direction. It's something that every one of us are hopeful and believing that they will deliver. So the hopes are high, if you ask me.
All right, so Niger, let's take it a step further. You know, the Niger Delta isn't just about oil. It's about control. And then the question for me will be, do you believe that this restructuring of the NNPC, you know, will create the new investment framework that we need, especially to bring in the young people and to reconfigure, you know, what we truly understand when it comes to distribution of power?
Yes, if you look at the energy need of the world, you agree with me that energy is a commodity that cannot be wished away, because we need it for our everyday life, our industrialization, our technological advancement, even the AIs and all this remote stuff and this robotics. They are all going to be powered by energy. So talking about divestment, I think we should be looking at interventions from innovative thinking, because this set of guys that are going to be in charge for how long I don't know yet are guys that are very, 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 very resourceful. We expect them to tap into the knowledge bank of experts, especially the young generation, like some of us that are still in our mid-40s, those in their early 40s, mid-30s, in their 20s, because they have this fresh knowledge of things. The ideas are becoming newer by the day, and the oil and gas sector, the energy sector, as it were, is open for trillions of dollars to be pumped in, if not billions. Now, there was a research that was conducted some time ago, and it was very profound, that energy will be one of the major challenge of the world. You hear people talking about climate change issues, things around renewables. The Nigerian economy is largely dependent on the non-renewable, which is the fossil fuel, the crude oil we're all talking about, that we use in running our economy, we use in running our budget. 70% of our budget comes from. So it certainly needs deep and huge investment. And how do we make these investments possible? The climate needs to be investment friendly. We expect that the new management should be allowed to do the job to attract the influx of investors into the sector, so that as we move on in the coming years, we should be able to divest our monies into some other ventures that can create jobs for our young people and create opportunities for Nigerians. If you take a look at what has happened in the United Arab Emirates in the last 40 years, you notice that they've divested their earnings from petroleum into tourism. Saudi is also looking in that direction. They're spending heavily in changing their ways. I understand they'll be hosting the World Cup after the next World Cup that we held in Mexico and US and Canada. Saudi is already pushing away from core oil business alone and divesting into other things that can attract and bring buoyancy into the economy. So these are things, even if you look at the last World Cup that Qatar hosted, you notice that Qatar as an Islamic nation, have also moved away from a primary oil and energy producing nation.
Let me let you hold on there.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Lucky, just hold on there. Let me go to Mr. Elvis briefly. The Not Too Young to Rule movement has been pivotal in mobilizing Nigeria's youth, to engage politics. How does such an initiative align with the energy and environmental debates, particularly with regards to the Niger Delta and beyond, and the need for accountability in our government?
Okay, thank you. So for me, when in Not Too Young to Lead was bettered with the value proposition to build a critical mass of young people who will not only, make policies that will better a particular generation and generation but to also play a role in the future they want for their society. And the last 6 years has been very, very inspiring and taxing. And for me, aside petroleum, crude oil, like the mono economy we run in Nigeria, Nigerians are blessed with potentials of young people waiting to be harnessed. But if there's one thing I really say is will align with is the environmental justice system of our country, and particularly the Niger Delta. And since I was a toddler, I've been hearing about the Ogoni politics have been playing around the Ogoni cleanup and all that. The people who hold in egg seem not to be developed, and you find out that the law, like the policymakers, the lawmakers, I think our laws are not rigid towards, developing that particular region. Because if we create awareness on environmental justice, we will create awareness around accountability, young people will subscribe to that. But today, it seems as if people just, you see people, the multinationals just coming into where they feel is fresh to drill, they do their thing, they cut corners, do what they want to do, and they go back to their country. And if you come to West Niger Delta today, you find out that there's climate change and the atmosphere is very, very hot. It's heated at the moment. Mostly these are because of irregular processes of drilling crude oils and other things within the Niger Delta. So for me, I think aside subscribing to environmental justice, there should be advocacy on environmental justice. There should be advocacy on raising the next set of leaders to be more accountable, and finally on a collaboration with those that are at the end of affair in our energy sector, and raising the next set of people who wear their shoes, because nature for me are boss back.
All right, I think that's a good place to take a break. We are going to be taking a break, and when we return, we'll explore the future of energy, youth participation, and the paths to, beyond oil. What more can we do? And even with the oil, what can we do to preserve it for the future? Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Still the Beam, and we are talking to Mr. Lucky Goyota and Elvis Akpobi, and the subject is redefining wealth, power, and sustainability. I will go back to Mr. Lucky, and the question will be, Nigeria's OPEC production quota is both a privilege and a pressure point. How do we optimize this for the nation? How do we look into it to ensure that we blend into the world that is shifting rapidly?
Soonest. Talking about taking advantage of this free gift of God to our motherland. The Niger Delta, as you know, is one of the most highly enriched region in the world with petroleum. And over the years, like Elvis pointed out, while he was a toddler, it has suffered a whole lot. Talking about environmental degradation and pollution issues. I did a paper last week. I was trying to estray issues around oil spillage in the Niger Delta and solutions that have been marshaled to handle it, and where we ought to be, and where we are hoping to be in the future. And I carefully took time to notice that the environment that has been so degraded in the last few years, it is relatively becoming sane. that the people, because they are becoming engaged these days, they are beginning to see things differently. You know, oil theft issues and pipeline breakage could be from material failure or third-party interference and stuff like that. But again, since the advent of these security companies like Tantita and Co. that have been doing a lot of security work, trying to calm the nerves of people in the region, not to engage in the destruction of our national asset. And they've also provided employment. Everything boils down with people having work to do, people having job to do, people leaving their houses and believing that they'll come home with some monies for their family to fend, for their family to survive on. So we'll give it to the NNPC in the last 2-3 years for deeming it fit to appoint stakeholders in the region to also become co-owners of this facility, like what the PI pointed out in that document you have here. Communities will now be entitled to 3% stake. Those are some of the things that will help us hone the oil ourselves. For me, I'm throwing up an argument recently. I said maybe we've always been an oil-endowed nation. Probably we've not been producing, because it is the IOCs that have been producing for us. Not until in the last 20 years when some indigenous oil companies like Seplat and others came on board. Now we have to hone this oil, really, because from the equipment to even the cash. We don't have the cash. Dollar, naira is a dollar. Crude energy, petroleum is a dollar. It's a multi-dollar, multi-trillion investment business. So talking about taking the blessings and also not to make it look as if though it's becoming a pressure for us, is for us to continue to do the right things and try to shelve undermining and shelve this marginalization that everybody have been talking about, and make the people in the region also have a sense of belonging. It's never too much. I understand that the NDTC is there, the amnesty, presidential amnesty program, they're all there, but we must continue to ask for more in the region. We've got to have more so that we will feel the benefit of this gift that God has given to the people.
Okay, let's take it over again to Mr. Akwobi. And you see, indeed, the blessings seem like a curse. And then the question is, from the youth angle, how do we change this curse? How do we go beyond just energy to the politics, to the dynamics of the economics? How do we change the landscape to ensure that the children or the young people do not continue in the sins of the fathers? How do we make them more responsible, accountable for the nation?
Critical question, I must say. So for me, I believe that I'm of this school of thought that when you teach young people one thing over and over again, they become that. I'm half annoyed and I'm overwhelmed with shock sometimes when I see those who contracted governors with our votes acting negatively. There are cases. I don't want to talk about the River State. I don't want to talk about what's happening today in the Senate. But every stakeholder, every leader should know that whatever you're doing, whether they're good or bad, is a precedent. Because once today you do something which should be treasonable, which is offensive, and you get away with it, know that it will be a precedent towards the next generation. So I want to take this opportunity to, record the need again for privileged stakeholders, the political actors, to know that we only have one country, which is Nigeria, and their actions and inactions today will determine how Nigeria will go. I feel bad at the point of entry when sometimes when I'm being asked, where are you from? And I said, Nigeria. It seems like you're wearing a burden of suspect, because for me, I'm not a criminal and I will never be a criminal. But the way most of our leaders have portrayed themselves reflects negatively on how the world sees us, which for me is not so good. So in as much as We know we're advocating for young people to come into power. This charity, they say, begins at home. Back in my state, the advocacy have bet a lot of young people who are in sync with capacity, competence, and are doing very, very well. Kudos to our youth-friendly governor who tagged his government. Despite his agenda is expect more, he said he's going to be inclusive, and a lot of young persons are on board. And what we do daily is that while we advocate for more young persons, we're telling those young persons that already be privileged to be on that table to know that their actions and inactions were that short doors of opportunity for other young Deltas. But I must say, I must give kudos to those that are on board. They are doing well, but there's room to do more and be more.
All right. Mr. Lucky, let's take just maybe one final question for you before we wrap it up. Let's come back again. We know the youths are looking up to the ones who are in power right now. There are some who are doing well, but we have talked about, the crisis within the Niger Delta when it comes to basically all the environmental degradation and all the problems that we face. So the question becomes, how can the government make it up to this region that has been neglected so badly? How can the government make it up to ensure that there's equity, there's sustainability from henceforth going forward?
Thank you, Sunes. That's where the geopolitics of the energy business comes in. The geopolitics is a critical element in the energy need of this world. If Donald Trump tweets today, it will affect the oil price. That's politics for you. That's the power of politics. Politics trumps everything. Like the political actors in Rivers, what they are doing there, the lives of the minister of the FCT, and the governor, and even the president, it's not anything anybody should be laughing or playing about with. That can affect the energy situation in Nigeria and also threaten the environmental sustainability in the Niger Delta. So I'm using this opportunity to appeal to Mr. President to tread cautiously with Minister Wike, and his godson, Governor Sim Fubara. Politics is part of this business. So our politicians in Nigeria, our policymakers, must ensure that they do things that are of utmost importance for the well-being of our country. That is why they must reduce this transactional kind of politics. They should encourage people that have transformational mindset to go into the National Assembly, to go into the state houses of assembly, and not just for the purpose of bearing the name honorable, and not just for the purpose of just aggrandizing wealth, just building houses or buying cars or moving with security men, because they are lazy. People playing politics in Nigeria are lazy. They're not thinking. That's why we're having this situation. So going forward, my party shot will be those in charge of our politics should ensure that their actions and inactions does not threaten the energy outlook for this country. Because the Niger Delta is an epicenter of our economy, of our resources, and what drives our economy. Whatever goes wrong in the Niger Delta, we always implicate our economy. So we must tread carefully and do our politics right. Thank you.
All right, Lucky Goyota and Elvis Akwobi, I must thank you very much for your depth and perspectives today. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Yes, Nigeria stands at the crossroads. The Niger Delta holds more than crude oil. It holds the lessons, the warnings, and the possibilities of what happens when power isn't just extracted, but shared. And the question now is, are we going to learn? Are we going to leave the loop open? That's all for today. But before we go, our top 5 videos of the week. I'm Sunes Nathaniel. Until next time, stay informed, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep beaming the light where it matters most. May Nigeria continue to rise and flourish. Fifth on our list this week is a clip in which Senator Natasha narrates how she arrived at her decision to use a helicopter for her Kogi Sala trip. In fourth place, we see political analyst GT Ogunye weighing in on the issues with regards to Senator Natasha and her visit to Kogi. Coming third on our list this week is a video in which we see supporters cheer Senator Natasha as she arrives her hometown in a helicopter. Staying with the Natasha story, in second place, we see the senators say INEC should have thrown out the petition calling for her recall long ago.
So the question to INEC is, can a non-registered body sponsor a petition against a senator? I think these are loopholes that INEC needs to look into and probably strengthen the laws in that, because I think it should have been discarded on the first go.
Our most viewed video this week shows a commissioner in Kogi State saying that the security agencies will determine Senator Natasha's arrest, a statement that drew heavy debate across the country.
If someone has violated it, the security agencies do not need the governor again to come and give them another directive. They know what to do, and I'm sure they will.
That's it on our countdown this week. Join us next week for more.